Hello, John. John, you there?
Yes, I'm here, Sukin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I just read on Facebook that you're going through some treatment for prostate cancer.
That's correct.
I think, Sukin, not now. I think the discussion with
it's
Ajahn is
started?
ready to start.
Okay, start. Okay.
Can we keep anything about his treatment off list? Thank you.
Thanks anyway, Sukin. Appreciate it. And Shanti, thank you for your good wishes.
Ajahn, are you here now?
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์
Please start.
And Nina or Chanti or anyone, would anyone like to start? Alan?
I have a
Good
point.
morning.
Carry on, Nina.
Anyone else like to first?
Please, Nina.
Yeah. Well, Ajahn explains that when there is the first stage of understanding, which is intellectual understanding, there is still a sense or an idea of self. And only when there is direct understanding, it is more like there is no self for anyone. So I think that when you understand that this is hard and there is no self at the level of intellectual understanding, there is not yet the letting go of self, but when there is direct understanding, there is more letting go. But it is an important point, and perhaps Ajahn can elaborate more on this.
I think that in order to understand the truth of life, it has to be now. Otherwise, how can we know that it's not self? We experience this. There is moment of experiencing hardness, seeing, and so on all day. But what are they? See, where is I? When there is the understanding of seeing, seeing cannot be taken for anything because it's only that which has risen by condition to see, just to see, and then gone. So every moment in life, a reality is there. From moment to moment, different reality, but it cannot be known because we cannot understand the truth of the moment when it's there as it is, like that which experiences. See, we use this word, that which experiences, but no thought about seeing that it experiences what is seen now. That's why to understand that there actually no one there, only what are there in life are different realities. If they do not arise, how can there be the understanding of what is there as it is? Because nothing appears. But what is now appearing, it shows itself as just that which experiences, but no attention to that moment of seeing as what is it? It's just a moment of seeing. It's just a moment of thinking. It's just a moment of hearing. So how can there be I? At moment of seeing, it sees, it arises and sees. Learn to understand the truth of that in life, anytime, anywhere, any moment, because what is there is the moment of experiencing an object. And is that not letting go? It's just the way leading to understand the depth, the subtlety of that which now arises and falls away in split seconds, never to return, never to arise again. When there is the confidence of the truth to begin to understand that what life really is, it's just a moment of experiencing an object, but they are quite different by conditions. That's why we learn to understand in the beginning to have confidence of seeing cannot be I, hearing cannot be I, Thinking now cannot be I. It's just that which is conditioned to perform its function as seeing, hearing, thinking. Is this not true? From birth to death, each moment, different moment of that which arises to experience. So what is called life is the moment of experiencing an object, whether the object is known or not known, but there must be the moment to arise and experience, never lost at all, just from this moment to other moment, different ones. But there must be that which arises and experience as long as it's not death yet. And what is death? It's just that moment which ends up the characteristic of that which is taken for I or me in this life, and it conditions next life. That's why we learn to understand the truth of that which experiences. As soon as it has fallen away, it conditions the next one instantly by its Pachaya, Anantara Pachaya. No one can stop the way it is. That's why from moment of birth, life goes on from moment to moment by that which experiences as soon as it has fallen away, it conditions the next one instantly. And even after death, when this moment has gone, it conditions the next moment, birth, instantly. So the reality, the citta, which does not condition the next moment, has to be only the last moment of arahata. No condition, no anantarapajya anymore to condition next moment to be. And this is on and on and on from years ago. Who can stop the condition for citta, the reality which arises to experience, to stop, not to arise again? It's impossible. There must be condition for one citta. As soon as it has fallen away, it conditions the next one. Just right now. No one there at all. No one can change. No one can stop the way it is. Just learn to have more confidence of no self. And that is the moment of letting go, little by little, from considering the truth until it can understand the characteristic which is there as that which experiences, different from that which is seen or heard at all. On and on, different realities which can be known when it's there. Right now, it's there seeing, it's there hearing, it's there thinking.
Ajahn, someone had doubts about this life and the future life. And we explained that it is the present moment only that can solve the doubt. But for that person, it's still difficult to understand that there is a past life, a present life, and a future life just by understanding this moment.
If we don't call it this life or next life, what about the moment of experiencing an object? As soon as it has fallen away, it conditions the next one. Who can stop the way it is now? But we call it this life as long as it's not the last moment, the end of karma, which does not condition the experiencing as this person anymore. And that is death, the moment of death, to ends up. The karma is ended, not to be this person anymore. But the way it is, from the moment when it's gone, it conditions the next moment instantly, no matter what, because there are still conditions in that citta to condition the next one. So when there's no condition at all in that citta anymore, and when that one has fallen away, the chutti citta of an arahata, no more life, no more moment of experiencing after death, because no conditions for anything to arise as seeing, hearing anymore. So what is the difference between this life and next life? Next life must be seeing, hearing, again thinking, experiencing. What is that? By conditions. All by conditions. What is
It's
that condition?
difficult. I said it's difficult for that person to understand that the condition is in that chitta.
Okay, just talk about seeing. When there is no eye base, can they be seen? And if there's a reality which can impinge on the eye base, can they be seen? See? Who can make that moment arise? And who can have the jakku, pasatha, or the eye at will? They can be blind any moment by conditions. Who condition that to have moment of seeing and no more moment of seeing at all by conditions. Just learn to understand that how can anyone have anything to arise at will right now? Heat, fire, taste, impossible. There must be condition for a moment. And what is that in that very moment too? For example, where's the reality which can impinge on the eyes and appear as different color, different shape and form? Where is it? Can it just be alone without other rupa? Not know anything at all. So taking it for something permanent like flower and what is seen. But in truth, what is there can be broken up into a very tiny, tiny atom. What is there? Can it be a chair or a shoe or what? Impossible. That's why condition the truth of that and learn to understand that actually there is nothing as thing or person or being anymore. Only one moment of experiencing an object. And as soon as it has fallen away, the next one is not the last one which has fallen away. Never be the same at all. Just think, consider the truth, whether it's true or not. Just understand the truth, that's all. Because the truth can be understood. For example, we talk about seeing, and there is seeing. And who makes seeing to arise? Impossible. It's there. Now, while we are talking, it's still there. But not understanding that it's not just one seeing at all. What appears by that succession of the arising and falling away so rapidly, it cannot be just one unit at a time to appear, but as it arises and falls away in split second, what is seen is only the nimitta of that which is seeing, while there are other jittas before and after seeing, but they do not appear. So in life, there are moments of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. That's all. 6 ways. Not more than that. Again and again and again and again by conditions. Can there be experiencing sound without hearing? So in life, only 6 ways. The other realities are there too, but they do not appear. So in life, actually, there are moments of seeing, while there are other citta arising before and after, but they do not appear because they do not arise and see the function of that citta, which is conditioned to see, is only one moment, which performs the function of experiencing the object which is seen clearly. Only that function. No idea, no thing. Because what can impinge on the ibis is that which appear to minder when right understanding is there and understanding the difference between the sensor and the minder. Not shape and form of things or people at all. Only that which can impinge on the ibis. So one reality in truth can be object of understanding. We talk about one reality, we mean one kind, not one single reality. Because it's impossible to experience that single one. So very tiny, very subtle, arising and falling away. So what appears now is only seeing, no arising and falling of anything at all, because of the rapidity of the succession. Only seeing can appear. So it is the nimitta of seeing. Many moments of seeing together as moment of seeing, not moment of hearing. So actually, one lives in the world of nimitta, of no matter what kind of reality it's there appearing, it's only the nimitta of that reality, because the arising and falling away is so very rapidly that it can appear as only nimitta of one single reality. And further on, when sanya, marks and remember, the remembering of shape and form make known as bandhati, snake or bird or rice or chair or plate or fork, or nimitta in one's life. Just learn to understand whether it's true or not from the very beginning, and to be truthful to the truth. So right understanding develop little by little to understand more and more about one reality, like seeing now as it is, as not that which is seen and not that which hears. Are we talking about what are there in life? So true, to be known as it is, no one there at all, no thing, no one.
And Nina, we talk about past and future lives, but actually there's only just a moment and another moment and another moment like now. So it's actually just an idea that when we say the last life and the future life, because just like now, there's just one chitta arising by conditions after another, different realities arising by conditions. So just like now, life is just for a moment. And a moment ago, it was just for a moment. And the next moment will just be for a moment, on and on and on. So that's why when there's a little more understanding of what life is now, just a moment of experiencing and then gone, then this is the only way to understand how it will be in the future and how it was in the past. What it means to talk about future lives or past lives. Actually, we're just talking about different moments of experiencing arising by conditions, just like now. And on the point about the intellectual understanding and letting go, I think that sometimes intellectual understanding can be misconstrued. We could talk about right considering, for example, when there's careful right considering with understanding, reflecting that actually what is touched now, it is just hardness and softness. There isn't any table or computer touched. There is just a little bit of letting go with the growth in that careful considering, that right considering for a moment, but it's very weak. So it has to develop on and on and on until it is the direct understanding of what appears. And there is more letting go of the idea of something there, something that is experienced, but it has to begin. So we shouldn't underestimate the value, the great value of the careful and right considering, or the intellectual understanding, whatever we prefer to call it, it doesn't matter. Yes. But just beginning to reflect and appreciate that it is just hardness, softness, heat that is experienced now, not something, and it's not I that is touching or experiencing, but there is just the moment of experiencing that tangible object and then gone. again and again, moments of thinking, not I that's thinking, just thinking about what is experienced. And when reflecting that this is life right now, what's gone is gone, future life, nothing known about it. But at this moment, there can be a little understanding that this is the world right now, the hardness experience right now is the world. And then it falls away, crumbles away. And there is letting go at those moments of reflecting, whether we call it letting go or not, just a little bit less of the idea of self for a moment.
Yes. Yes, so there is already a beginning, even at the level of intellectual understanding, there is already a beginning of letting go. That's good, a good point, yeah.
Yeah, and it's really important, because if we hadn't heard the Buddha's teachings, there wouldn't be the beginning. And it's always a beginning again and again, beginning again and again to understand what appears right now, because there is a new life at each moment, a new reality to be understood, and just a little less taking it for something or someone for a moment. And then, of course, ignorance and attachment and clinging as usual. But at those moments of understanding, there is letting go.
And Ajahn mentioned sense door process and mind door process. And this is still a difficult point for many people, because the mind door process immediately after the sense door process experiences the same object, the same visible object or sound. And so people may be wondering the difference between the two processes.
So at the moment of when hardness is experienced, when the touching and the other cheetahs experience that hardness, but they fall away, and then there has to be the experiencing of that hardness through the mind door, and followed by the thinking in different ways about its shape, its nature, its characteristic, and then ideas of something there, and so on. But I think that in terms of understanding that it is just hardness, we don't have to say whether it's sense door or mind door, but the main thing is to understand that the hardness itself is just that which is touched, different from the experiencing of it, the touching of it. Otherwise, especially in the beginning, people will be very confused. So it's better just to talk about the different realities rather than no need to say, well, hardness is experienced in the sense door and then it's experienced in the following mind door. But it is just the hardness, the characteristic of hardness that is experienced, even though we know that it is the nimitta of hardness that has to be experienced in the mind door.
Well, at this kind of a moment, Sarah, we can explain that the importance of nimitta. Without the nimitta, the mind door could not experience the object without the nimitta. So that they understand that, you know, through the 17 moments of the sense door process, after that the object falls away. So the only way that the mind door can experience the object is because there's nimitta.
Right.
Just thought I'd add.
The visible object, like all other realities, has to fall away instantly after those moments. So that is the only way it can be experienced and thought about. Yes. Sorry, someone else was trying to speak. But I think for Nina was talking about for newcomers, we can just help people to understand what is the difference between those realities that are experienced, like the hardness or the visible object right now, life at this moment, and those realities that experience, like the touching or the seeing, And I think that, I mean, when we talk to newcomers in Australia, people can appreciate that point. They can appreciate it is just hardness. The world is just hardness that is touched.
Yeah.
And it is just the moment of touching. One doesn't have to say, well, there are 17 cheetahs in the sense door process, and actually it's nimitta that is experienced, because they will just lose interest straight away because it's too much details. But just to help people understand, there are just these different realities that experience, and those that are experienced, no self to be found, no thing that is touched, is really very important right from the start.
Yes, good point, yeah.
And that the seeing now is different from the hearing. So, and the thinking is different again at different moments, thinking of kindness, thinking of anger, different moments, so that it is like a new life at each moment. So gradually they can understand how there is the present moment, and what's gone is the past, and what hasn't come is the future, moment by moment. And this is the only way to appreciate this is how life goes on. And it was like that before, and it will be like that in future too.
And we never know the next moment. So we never know, well, the next moment will be seeing or hearing, because we can show that it's all by conditions. And maybe that can help them a little to understand what conditions are like, beyond control, and nobody can do anything. And we never know the future.
And yeah, even right now, it's so unexpected. Who knows what thinking will think about next moment, whether it will think about what is heard, or whether it will think about something out of the window, or whether it will think about the books behind Betty, anything quite unexpected. So it's totally useless to think about what will happen in next life or what will happen in the future, because even the next moment now is completely unknown and completely out of anyone's control, just like this moment is. Shanti, were you going to bring up something earlier or not?
Very shortly, I heard you say a lot in some older audio samuti, and I looked it up and it says like past or gone, but I'd like to hear the practical meaning, and also practically about rupas. Which one of the rupas is possibly directly, can possibly be directly known? Maybe there's a few more than I suspect. That's it.
So now, is it correct to say this is Nina, or this is Ajan, or this is Betty?
No.
Well, conventionally it's true. Like if I say this is Nina and this is Betty, you know what I'm talking about. So this is Smuti Satya. This is the conventional truth. So when understanding develops, we still say this is Nina, this is Betty, and we know we're talking conventionally. So conventionally it's true. But in terms of Paramatta Satya, an absolute truth, like you say, the answer is no. In truth, no one is there. There's just visible object that is seen and thought about again and again. So we differentiate between Sumuti Satya and Paramatta Satya. And the wise, including the Buddha, of course, they use Sumuti Satya. They use the same conventional truths, but with no misunderstanding, no confusion, no taking it for being anything other than conventional truth. So that is Samuti Satya and Paramatta Satya.
Yes, and that's clear. I suspected that meaning, but can you also use it like saying Samuti body, or just to make clear that you're talking about convention?
Sorry, Samuti body.
Yes, or is it only with Satya?
So just, I think the word Samuti just means that which is conventional. So usually it's used with these are Samuti. Usually it's used with Satya, Samuti Satya. This is what is true conventionally. Speech. In conventional speech.
Okay.
And in terms of what rupas are, can be known now, I'll pass to Ajahn, but I think the answer is what about now? What appears? What rupas appear? Like visible object, is it apparent? Hardness, is it apparent? But what about one of the subtle rupas like the water element, or masculinity or femininity?
Well, that's the tricky thing, because there I'd answer for many that I know that are realities that can be known. But for some, I don't know whether it's thinking like it's so fast, like femininity. It seems we can quite easily have the idea we experience it. Or
right. But it's an idea, because what is seen is what is visible, what is heard is the sound. And because of that rupa that is all over the body, it conditions the idea of thinking about femininity or masculinity, but it's not the direct understanding. It's not the femininity rupa that appears. But let me pass this second set of questions to Ajahn.
Some interesting ones, like the heart materiality and the life faculty. Well, you never know, might be surprised. Thank you.
Well, they only appear through the mind, or these rupas. So only the 7 rupas appear through the sense doors, which are more apparent. Like the 3 tangible objects, the visible object, the sound, the odor, the taste. So these 7 rupas appearing through the sense doors are more apparent. The other rupas can only appear through the mind door.
And we cannot distinguish mind door and sense door really, because they're so fast. So that's already also tricky.
What do you mean by distinguish sense door and mind door?
Well, when I experience hardness in the moment, I can't tell whether it's because of mind door experiencing the real rupa, the first mind door process, or it's the sense door impact, impinging.
We don't need to think about that, but at the moment of touching, it experiences hardness. So how that hardness appears doesn't matter, whether it's just through wise considering or whether the understanding is more developed and it directly understands it, but the touching has to experience the hardness through the sense door. So this is why the hardness is more obvious, because it is experienced at the moment of touching the table. Hardness is there.
Yes, I was bringing it up because then it wouldn't, the fact that the subtle rupas can only be experienced through mind door, that wouldn't answer the question as to whether they could be directly experienced. Do you know what I mean?
Like the life faculty you mentioned, the Jivitindriya Rupa, it cannot be touched, it cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, it cannot be smelt. So it's the object of thinking now, unless it's the
Yes.
very highly developed understanding.
Well, that's what it means. It cannot be smelled. It cannot be touched. It cannot be.
And we need to be careful about having the idea that everything the Buddha explained is capable of being experienced or understood directly.
Yes.
Because that's not the case. The development of the path is to have a better understanding of what is appearing, regardless of whether it's a nama, a rupa, or whatever. And it's not the case that a certain number of realities need to be directly known or need to be the object of awareness and understanding. It will depend on the individual which realities are directly known as understanding is developed. But we don't need to worry about trying to directly know this or that or the other.
It's just, again, reminding me again, when you say have to be careful, has to be heedful, it's more that thing, that don't try to make yourself believe that now you're experiencing things that aren't possible. So it rules it out if my question is answered like this.
I mean, there are realities appearing now that aren't understood, aren't known for what they are. So that's basically the task. But the other information we get is all useful for understanding the context of the moment of understanding.
Yes, and then, sorry. There's some rupas, the non-concrete ones, how they're translated seems so concrete because it has to do with verbal, like verbal intimation. Well, when I speak, I can hear. So that's again tricky. And the lightness also seems very physical. And space. So yes, I was curious, but I guess it's the same for those. Okay. Thank you.
Nina, we can't hear you. Nina, turn on your audio, Nina.
Chanti brings up good points, because for the Dutch group tomorrow, the subject is Rupakanda. So Chanti has very good points to bring up to have more understanding of which rupas can be experienced.
I think it is a trap to look for what can be experienced instead of understanding what appears right now, like we may read about verbal intimation and think that somehow it can be experienced, but it's actually just our idea about it, because it's not a rupa that is apparent. So what can be apparent now, like the hardness we were talking about, or the sound now, or the visible object. So when we read about different rupas, it's so helpful to understand the different rupas that are there, to understand that whatever arises is anatta. But as soon as there is the trying to find it or see if it can be experienced, or to try and determine whether the hardness is appearing in the sense or the mind, or then this is the self again, trying to find out, trying to know, not the understanding of just what appears right at this moment. But they're very subtle points.
Yeah, very, very useful. Yeah, very good.
And the tricky thing is also that between nama and rupa, especially for beginners, it's a pitfall that, of course, nama is more, well, mental. Yeah. And this also in the Sammuti Satya is not touchable or smellable or tasteable. But when we're just getting to know the phenomenon rupa, it seems so firm because we call it material, we call it concrete. So it's very good to remind ourselves that even the concrete things, only very few of them can be experienced. And for me, it helps to distinguish again that it's thinking. If I go into much details of the other ones, so I can just rule it out. Oh, that's atta again. Anyway, it helps.
Well, I admire your interest in pursuing the fine details, and there are of which there are many more than one could even imagine. And it's all there in the different texts to be studied for those who have the interest in pursuing it. But Ajahn will remind us always that what is important is the understanding of what is appearing at the present moment. And we need to keep in mind that some things are useful, are directly relevant to that understanding, and other things that we may study and read about are not in the same way. And just to keep in mind that there are different kinds of citta involved in the study too.
And some of the rupas you were referring to, the asabhava or the nibbana rupas, the ones without, which they say are without their own characteristic or not concrete. These are ones that don't have characteristics that appear, that can be known. Certainly not unless those with sabhava have been directly known first. But I think Ajahn will say, how about one reality at a time? What would you like to talk about? Anyway, I'll see if Ajahn would like to add more comments.
In order to understand what we are saying now, or can it be at the moment? Even just to understand the meaning of rupa, it's not just the word, but it's a reality which cannot experience anything, even it's there, by condition arising just to be heard, to be sound or whatever. It's there already. So without understanding the truth of it, just the word doesn't help at all. That's why sound is now heard and gone. This is the truth. Sound cannot be seen, sound cannot be tasted at all. But it's there as just a reality that cannot experience anything at all. That is the way to understand what is meant, the truth of what is there as that which arises. It has its characteristic, but it cannot experience anything, while the other reality experiences no shape and no form, to be touched, to be smelled at all, thinking about at all. See, it's the moment to consider the characteristic of that which is there, no shape and no form, but arises and experience. Otherwise, nothing can appear at all without that which has experienced it. That's why it's now, this moment. We don't have to think about what does the word rupa mean, but what is there. Is seen or is heard or is touched, different from that which experiences that. So at moment when whatever appears, there must be a reality which experiences that, so it can appear to the moment, to that which experiences it only, just only at a time. So Now there are a reality which is seen, and there must be another reality which sees it. Otherwise, that cannot be seen at all. That's what we learn to understand. The word would represent the realities at moment of seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling. In a day, only 6 ways. If you don't use 6 ways, there are only moments of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. Is that not right? But what is that? There is not just seeing. There must be the object which is seen right now in order to understand what we use the word rupa and we use the word nama. There must be a reality arising and sees what is seen. There must be a reality which is seen and a reality which experiences that only. So that can appear only to seeing. And everything which has condition to arise and falls away instantly, it cannot be known just when it's just only single one at all. So many moments that Buddha taught about what are there. When we take a moment, so many split seconds, reality there too, but they do not appear. So what appear can in life, any moment, can be known as it is. When we talk about the reality which cannot experience, it is smell, it is taste, it is touched, tangible object, and it is the visible object which can be seen. Only that in a day, on and on, from moment to moment, what appears, but that which are there but do not appear. So many moments and so many different realities. So we learn little by little to understand that even that which are there, which do not appear, it are there at moment of seeing, that there must be a moment before seeing. So we learn different words before seeing what is there. It has to be the moment of experiencing an object, but it's not seeing. See, that's why we learn to understand life. So very, very details about the subtlety of what is there. Because now we are talking about that which arises and appears. Just talk about it, but not the moment of knowing it, but learning to know what is there as it is, as not thing, as not I, as not anyone at all. That's why we can say that among our realities, there are different different realities. One can experience an object and the other cannot experience the object. Learn to understand what we take for me in life from moment to moment. And the truth is that no lie, no me, but there are realities which is conditioned to arise, but they are different. One can experience an object and the other one arises but cannot experience anything at all. So we learn to understand the difference between hardness when it's there. There must be the reality which experiences it. So hardness can be experienced only by that moment which experience it. And they are different. Hardness cannot experience anything. That's why we use the word rupa. And the one which arises, no shape, no form, no smell, no rupa at all, but just arise and experience is nama. That's why we learn to understand it, what life is. What are there in life now and any time, any moment? Only the reality which arises, experiences, and that which arises but cannot experience. Use different words, sammuti, to make known what is there. So when there is the understanding of this moment, there can be the understanding of what are there as rupa and what are there as nama. For example, attachment. It's not hard, it's not sweet, it's a reality which experiences the object that it likes. It is attached to that object. So the characteristic of that which is attached or cling to whatever is there It's a reality, the nama, not the rupa, but they are different from the citta, which is the chief of experiencing the object clearly, only one moment. So in only one moment of seeing, it's clear. And the ajitasikas arising together experience the same object, but it does not perform the function. The function is very important too, because all nama arise and perform its function. Like citta, the chief of experiencing, it does not like, it does not hate, but because it just arises to experience, the chief of experiencing the object, while the other mental factors, different ones, hatred or like or mana or whatever, ego, in life, what are there which can experience the object by way of its characteristic and its function, to like, to hate, to be thinking about this and that. So many, many moments. Learn to be what are there in a moment, which are nama, and what is there at moment of being object of experiencing. But how many rupas are there too? Learn to understand what Buddha has enlightened the truth, to consider by oneself, to understand the truth by oneself, to have confidence of the truth by oneself, little by little. For example, to be truthful, does anyone know the characteristic of seeing right now, or just heard about it? And whenever there is seeing anytime, no thinking about it at all, because no conditions to think about it. That's why even after hearing a lot, it depends on condition, how much understanding, how much parami that can condition moment of even thinking or has some idea of the truth, that it's only that, no one there at all. This is the way to understand or to know the object as it is, little by little, because now we are talking about it while it's there, but no understanding at all, and not directly know it, just hear about it. But when there's more understanding, it can condition moment of suddenly or instantly such fear or direct of awareness can arise by conditions, no expectation. What would it be at all? Whether it's just thinking according to what is heard, no one there at all, or it's just hard, or it's just soft, or it just smell, or it is very delicious, only that. See, in a day, all absolute realities are hidden by way of the succession of the rapidity of the arising and falling away, now unknown, because the arising and falling away is so very, very quickly. So it cannot appear what arises and what falls away, on and on and on. But learn to understand the truth, and that which is hidden begin to be object of knowing that it's there right now. What is there? Not just the reality which arises to see. There are other reality too arising together as mental factor, like concentration of one pointed text. It does not appear until it appears, it's known. When there is the direct awareness with direct understanding of that which is now, but what does not appear cannot be known, only that which appears. So the seeing now, the hearing, the thinking in life all day, it means that there must be citta, the reality which is the chief of experiencing the object from moment to moment, but no thought about it. Just attend to the characteristic of the object which is seen all day as fruit or food or whatever is there. Even pencil, even paper or whatever, attention is there, but not attention to that which experiences at all. That's why there can never be the understanding of that which experiences when there's not enough confidence of the truth that what is there, not just that which is experienced, but the experience there too, different one from different moment by conditions. This is a way to understand the truth of what which has been heard, just the word. But what about the truth? What about hearing the word nama and rupa and chitta and cetasika? Where were they? Where are they now? See, they are now. But if it's not enough confidence of the truth of no one, there cannot be moment of experiencing the characteristic of it. But when there's more and more understanding of the truth as whatever is there cannot be taken for self or thing permanently at all, only at moment when it's there. When it's not there, memory keep on thinking that it's still there, but in truth, never there at all when it's not seen. And even it is seen just right now, not permanent at all, so rapidly arising and falling away, covers up the truth. That's why learning to understand the truth from moment to moment that Buddha taught in details to condition the confidence of the truth, no matter what are there, appearing or not appearing at all. Like citta before seeing does not appear, and citta after seeing does not appear. But there must be moments of cittas before seeing and moments after seeing, but they do not appear. What appear now is only seeing. So that seeing which appears is the nimitta of that which experiences. Even there is like, dislike after seeing, but it seems like at the moment of seeing, because of the rapidity of the successions of the arising and falling away, it seems like everything are there, like seeing, hearing, an object which is seen and heard, but actually just one moment at a time, beginning to study the truth, to have confidence of whether it's true or not, so that when there's more understanding, it makes way to directly understand the characteristic which is not self, which experiences, no matter it is seeing or hearing or thinking. Otherwise, we can remember the word, but the characteristic which is different, that which experiences no matter what, and that which cannot experience no matter what. Otherwise, there cannot be the direct awareness of one characteristic with right understanding of that which is now appearing or any time. So very natural by conditions. And that's just the way to let go the clinging to that as something. So just hear about it is not enough, but the development of understanding the characteristic of that one by one can condition the moment of getting closer and closer to what is there now, so close, but not known when there's not enough understanding. That is the difference between the intellectual understanding and the direct understanding of the characteristic of what is there as it is. Even just touching, see, or hardness, so natural. But what about the understanding? Beginning or thinking or what? Right understanding knows clearly what is there as how much understanding or how less considering about the truth.
Can I ask you, Ajahn, it is important to learn to distinguish nama from rupa, isn't it?
Are they different?
Yes.
Should it be?
But I'm confused at the moment that some rupas, like say, take hardness.
Okay.
That is That is clear, but then I'm confused now about the kaya pasada, because it is a rupa, but I don't think I can experience that. It is
Can it be seen?
no,
Kaya pasada. Can it be heard?
no,
Can it be smelled?
no.
Can it be known through the mind or experience it?
I guess it can.
Really?
Well, the mind door is not thinking, not? Is not what you mean?
Does it appear now to be known?
No.
So what rupa is there now? Can it be known?
If there's touching now, it can be known.
So it's just the idea that I touch, or it's hard. That is only the thinking, but not the moment beginning to understand the characteristic, which is hard as nothing, as we used to take it for. And that which experiences is there too, but no attention at all from birth of that which arises and experience an object from moment to moment, never lost at all. It has to be there all the time, from moment to moment. Even after death, it's there by conditions. So what is there has conditions for its arising, but whether it's there to be known or not, like the heart base or the eye base or the ear base, we just know that it's there. But when it's touched, it's not the eye base. When it's seen, it's not the eye base. So does it appear to be known through the 5 way?
No.
Not at all. But in a day, what is known by, we use the word mind door after sense door, has to be that which is there. So it can be known because it's there, like visible object or sound or taste or tangible object. Hardness or softness is there. So it can be known. What is there can be known little by little until no one there and no thing there at all. In life, everyday life, even right now, right understanding is so keen, so strong to let go the idea of thing or I or my finger or my hand, my face, see? So it's just understanding what is there now all the time, anytime, by conditions. That is the understanding of the truth of what is there as not self. Because in truth, what is there cannot be taken for self because it just arises and falls away in split seconds, has its own characteristic and its own function too. No one can change. That's the way it is. That's why from this moment must be moments and moments and moments after one moment now by conditions. Anantrapatya, no one can stop. It's there. And learn more. When there's no condition, there cannot be anything arise at all. And only the death moment of arahata, the citta, the last moment, doesn't have the anantrapatya or any patya to condition next citta after birth, after death. It's there all the time, but no understanding. So what we take for life, no matter past, present, or future, must be the reality which arises and experience an object and gone from moment to moment, never to return at all. And what can be known is that which is appearing to be known. When it does not appear, how can it be known?
So there's very little left that can be known of all the rupas, very few.
I think that we use the word rupa, but what about that which is seen? Do we have to use any word?
Yeah. Well, it's just because we're going through the rupas tomorrow in the Intl.Dhamma study group.
Yes.
But what
Important.
about now?
Yes.
Important point Ajahn brings, because it sounds so theoretical, knowing the difference between Nama and Rupa, but Ajahn brings it to life when she says there is sound and it could not appear if there were no chitta that experience it. And that is the way to begin to consider. But as it appears, we never consider rightly. We just hear the words, know the difference between Nama and Rupa. But this helps us very much to consider more that when there is sound, there must be also the chitta which experience it, the hearing.
When we talk about going through the rupas, Shanti, we have to appreciate that this is not necessarily the same as studying the Dhamma, as the Buddha would have spoken of it, because in his teachings, he didn't go through the rupas with his listeners. He taught them the truth about the present moment, and they listened and considered what he had to say about it.
Yeah.
So you can go through the rupas, but actually Nina has some very good writings on all this sort of thing. If you want to know about the rupas, she's covered it all in her book on materiality. If you want to know
I've got all
about
the books, but
if
for the
you want to know
moment,
about the Jetasikas, they're all there in
I
detail
have the book.
with
Yes.
information from every possible source. It's all there. Just read it. But
I'm still learning.
This is not studying the Dhamma. This is
I'm
not
still learning
studying
what
the reality
studying
of
the
present
Dhamma
moment.
is.
Yeah.
We
So
all
that's
do.
why.
We all do.
Yes.
So we need to appreciate that some things are very useful to know in terms of the understanding of the present movement, and other things are not directly relevant to that, even though they may be things that are covered by the Buddha's teaching. And as Ajahn said, Nama and Rupa are just terms, are just conventional terms. They're an example of Sammuti Satya. They are labels that are used to refer to realities. So, for example, it's a lot more important to know more about the characteristic of attachment, lobha, cetasika, for example, than to know which kind of cetasika, which of the cetasika, is it one of the universals, is it one of the particulars, or this sort of thing. That kind of information is really quite secondary to knowing more about the characteristic of the realities that are appearing at the present moment.
It's very helpful to put me back. Yes. I just heard Ajahn, thank you, Sujin, also say, is it Anuttara Pachaya? Could someone spell it for me? And maybe, I think it's something like excellent conditions, but Sujin says, Anuttara Pachaya, no one can stop.
Anantara Pachaya.
Ah?
Anantara Pachaya.
Anantara. Anantara.
No pause in between. It means it follows immediately upon the other one.
Anantara.
And also, it has to follow in the right way, samantara pachaya. So after seeing, there's receiving consciousness. But this may be a theoretical point. It may sound theoretical since we can't experience it.
Could someone put it in the chat, the word?
Yes, yes, it was there. Samanantara. Not only Anantara, but Samanantara, right in the order, in a special order. the cheetahs are in a special order in the process.
Thank you very much, everyone. You are my life.
It's good to discuss for everybody to consider more, since we don't consider enough.
Alberto, are you trying to speak?
Oh, sorry.
I think your
Just
mic
realized-
has been on all the time.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm not trying to say anything. I'll switch it off. Sorry about it.
Please excuse.
Jotika? Oh, carry on, Eve.
No, I see Ajahn up. I was wondering if Ajahn is muted. Please excuse me. Continue, Sarah. Thank you.
I was just going to ask Jotika, because she's also part of the Dutch group, if she had any comments on what was being discussed or anything she would like to add or bring up.
We can't hear you, Jotika. Please turn your microphone on.
I was asking myself if it is. I thought it was important to know something about the difference between Nama and Rupa, because otherwise, how can we understand no self? Because I learned by Buddhism that there was Nama and Rupa, but I learned in Christianity there was a soul. So when I heard the first time about this no self, then I thought, but where is the soul? And then the monk said one time, you are only Nama and Rupa. And that word only kept me going and thinking. So
And
I
we can
thought-
go further and say there's no you to be even only. There are only Nama and Namas and Rupas arising and falling away. That's life.
not you. But
No you to
there's
be
only-
that or anything else.
Yeah. I every time I start in the conventional talk
Yes.
language to speak about Namarupa, that's endless.
And as others have been saying, it's not about the words, it's not about Nama, and it's not about Rupa, but just understanding more about this moment, that there are just those realities that experience, like seeing and hearing and like and dislike, and those realities that can be experienced but never experience anything, like the hardness that was discussed, or the sound. And that's all that life is, just different realities arising and falling away, those that can experience and those that cannot experience.
Yes.
And without appreciating this really important point very, very carefully, it's quite useless to learn all the details about all the different rupas and which ones are nibbana and which are anibbana and which are sabhava and which are asabhava, or about sensual processes or mindful processes, because right from the beginning there has to be the understanding that there are just these different realities in life, no one to be found, no soul to be found, no being to be found, no thing to be found, nothing there at all.
But that's just the thing that I later on, after a while, then I heard that the first jnana from the Satipatthana, from the 16 jnanas, is already about the knowledge about Nama and Rupa, and also about no self. But I never knew that it was much later that I understood that there was no self, that it had to do with Nama and Rupa. But then it came together.
And without the beginning to let go that Nina was talking about, if there's not the beginning of letting go of the idea of someone, something now, that there are just these different kinds of realities, that understanding can never develop to be the direct understanding, and it can never develop further to be the vipassana jnana, which is the direct understanding, which understands so clearly and distinctly the distinction between namas and rupas. So it has to begin from the beginning to understand what is nama and what is rupa, and it has to be what appears now, what is life at this moment. So that's why it's always said that the teachings are not in the book, they are life at this very moment, understanding what appears right now.
But the direct understanding is just, you cannot take it, you cannot grasp it, you have to wait for it.
No one can do anything from the beginning to the end at all. So understanding has to develop, and that's why it needs a lot of patience and all the other paramis to develop together with the understanding to support it. Without patience and wholesome virya and satya and all the other paramis, the understanding cannot develop to that point. So the desire for results and the idea of I trying to make it happen or trying to experience this or that is a real hindrance to the path. It just leads to the wrong path.
But the thing that you cannot do anything, I find that the most difficult.
To me, it's like the great relief. Oh, nothing to be done. So
Yes.
just relax, let understanding work its way. Never mind about what's gone, because it's all gone. Never mind what will happen. But right now,
It's true.
understanding can arise, but it has to be by conditions naturally.
It's so,
not by any idea of I trying to do it, trying to work it out, trying to catch it. So all that time following different practices and methods, and it's such a big burden. So to let it all go, that is letting go of the wrong idea, letting go of the idea of practice or doing anything.
so you have no meditation technique.
So what is meditation technique?
Knowing what is going on.
And how is there knowing what is going on? Is it by I following a technique or method, or is it by understanding from developing from the wise considering, like now?
Yeah, for sure, it's the last one. But it is mostly, it takes a long time before people see that it, and me too.
That's why the letting go has to develop little by little by little, because that idea of I following a technique or a practice or a meditation is so strongly, has a strong hold. So gradually there can be letting go of the idea of I doing anything at all, because there is no I.
Yeah.
It's so difficult when you are so used to exercises, retreats, meditation for a long time. It's really difficult, I think. But I have no experience with these things, because from the beginning I went right to Ajahn, to her house, and I asked questions and she answers questions, but never occurred to me about meditation.
And for me, when I was young and I followed a meditation practice with Manindra, and then I listened to Ajahn and just dropped it overnight the first time when I just heard the first tape, and it was like a big relief immediately. No rule, no need to go to the forest, no need to go to a meditation center, no need to go to a temple. One could live naturally, do one's work, help one's family. No rules at all.
Can you guide me, Sarah, to how is your day? When do you see? You just, when we talk here about the seeing and just the seeing and the difference between the seeing, as we did last time, the seeing and the object. So is that the moment that you know that is seeing now?
So for me, daily life is just very normal and natural. In fact, I even have the television on in the background and no rule. I go swimming early in the morning and do my exercise and shop and cook and do my writing, finishing off the book and laugh with friends. And seeing is anytime. And I don't try to catch it or try to find out or count how many moments of awareness there is. Sometimes understanding slips in or pops in, but it's gone instantly. So it's not of any significance. It's not my understanding or my seeing or my hearing. So life just carries on as normal, nothing special to do, no moments of understanding or awareness to catch. All by conditions, each moment. So just live naturally, take care of your flowers, have fun with your friends, listen to Dhamma, let understanding work its way, not thinking of any technique or anything that you should do or I should do, each moment by conditions.
So all this knowledge. All this knowledge you have is all grown by itself.
Just very naturally, because any idea of I doing anything is the real hindrance. That is what prevents the understanding, trying to work it out, trying to check whether hardness is in the sense or the mind, or this kind of thing hinders the understanding.
I had a hindrance because I understood no meditation, no retreat, but still I was always disappointed when the talk was not on Dhamma. Sarah knows, Sarah laughs. When the talk was about flowers or something, then I used to be disappointed, not now, but I used to be like that. But even so, there can be the wrong idea.
There can be, or looking at photos or something, yes, or thinking that one's life should just be listening to Dhamma or writing Dhamma. But this is not the right way, because any moment is Dhamma. Seeing is anytime, hearing is anytime, thinking is anytime. Whatever arises in life is conditioned, and the thinking depends on different accumulations. So everyone has different interests, different ways. Some like watching television, some like going for walks, some like eating this, some like eating that. So just live very naturally and easily and have confidence that understanding can develop anytime, any place, no matter whether reading the newspaper or reading the Dhamma book. I don't really make any distinction, because There's still just different realities, just the same, whether I'm looking at the newspaper or looking at a Dhamma book. They're still seeing, they're still hearing, they're still thinking.
As you say, Sarah, oh, sorry, the same happens to me, but that's not a choice. That, well, first of all, I dropped many practices, but it just happened that there was no more interest. And then as soon as I heard Nina, something happened. But this is not a choice. We cannot, even if we would want to, choose the right practice. It just happened. You recognize.
Because there's enough understanding to appreciate that it's of no value at all. So no interest. What's the point in trying to get some result or focus? What's the value? It doesn't lead to anything useful at all.
It's very hard because I also dropped a very kind teacher and Dhamma friends because of this, because I can't do it anymore. Yeah.
So what about precepts? Keeping precepts.
So this is another topic. So just on Chanti's point, yes, I know that can be difficult. So maybe you can, with your friends, maybe you can sometime just explain to them how your understanding has changed and evolved, and perhaps gradually they may listen or they may show some interest, but it just depends. It depends on their interest, but I know it can be difficult. I remember I had the same experience, like I studied with Munindra. This was, 45 years ago, but it was difficult when I appreciated that it wasn't the right way.
I now recall the moment I didn't meet Nina and you yet, that it ended. I asked a question about free will, and then the teacher said, well, this is not my experience. My experience is that there is free will, and then something broke. And I didn't know it yet, but now I recall it was a moment, and all by conditions, that I couldn't go on.
Yes. And understanding the truth is more precious than anything else, more precious than the people one's around or anything else. So, like you say, when you know something is not right, then impossible to continue.
Even if I wanted to,
Right.
It would have been easier, but yes, something like that. Yeah, beautiful.
And Jyotika has another topic about the precepts. So,
Yeah.
what is the question, Jyotika?
If you cannot do anything, if you should not do anything, so what about the precepts here?
So like now, for example, killing, is that there's no thought of killing, so there cannot be any abstention from killing at this moment. And there's no thought of stealing, so no abstention. But when there is an opportunity to harm, like maybe a mosquito lands on one's leg, or there is an opportunity or thought of harming and one abstains, at that moment, when there is understanding, it is following the precept, but with understanding at that moment, not just repeating a set of instructions or just saying, oh, today I didn't kill anything, so I'm following the precepts. But as always, life is in a moment, so we have to consider each moment, each kind of citta. People think that if they don't kill for a month, that this is following the precept not to kill. But what about when there's the real opportunity? Is there abstaining at that moment? And what kind of citta is it that abstains? Is it with clinging or is it with understanding? So the seeker, the training has to be with understanding. And without the understanding of what is the reality now, how can it be known?
And if there is abstaining, but it's akusala citta, for example, there's dosa, or one thinks, I wish I didn't have to abstain. I wish I could do such and such. Then it's not keeping the precepts anyway. So to have the idea of keeping the precepts is perhaps to have the idea of following a kind of practice. We don't have to think in those terms. No one is telling us to keep the precepts. But we do understand the value in wholesome restraint from akusala. And it's that understanding or appreciation, even if only intellectual, that can be the basis for restraint when the opportunity arises. When the inclination to, for example, to speak harshly, to speak angrily to someone, and it's a moment of consideration for the other person, so one doesn't. That's it. Not thinking, I should keep the precepts, I will keep X number of precepts, or reciting that I won't do this, I won't do that. That's not anything to do with actually keeping the precepts. So actually quite a few opportunities in daily life for wholesome restraint.
For what? For what? For?
Sorry?
I did not understand what you said. It's actually in daily life, there's enough.
Quite a few opportunities for wholesome restraint. Restraining from, for example, harsh, unkind speech or sharp words or sarcastic speech, this kind of thing.
But this is holding precepts for me. Yeah, I bedoel, this is also in the precepts.
Yes, it is. But we don't have to think of it as keeping the precepts.
No.
It can be part of one's understanding of the Dhamma, the benefit of kusala, the danger of kusala, or just consideration for other people.
If we, don't know. I have learned when I heard also with insects to be careful, then I understood it better. Before it was like at home as a child, I saw that we were killing the flies in one way or another. And no, I cannot do it anymore, but it has to do with that I learned it or that I heard it and that I could consider it. It was not coming all by itself, I think.
That's why it has to be with understanding. For example, children in school in a Buddhist country will learn not to kill, not to speak harshly, and so on. But it's just repeating and behaving as they have been told. But what about the understanding of the harm of a kusala when there is the opportunity, like when there's the opportunity to speak sharply, but there is the abstaining at that moment, or there's the opportunity of hurting the insect, but one understands how there is no kindness at that moment and how the unwholesomeness is so dangerous to be accumulated. So actually only with understanding can there be more and more training to abstain from those kinds of akusala. And that's why only the Sotapanna has purified sila and will never kill or steal, and so on again, because there is the understanding that these are realities, no thought of harming the other in these ways.
Yeah, that's true.
Jan, would you like to add more to any of Jyotika's points?
What's the point of life? Just live, or what more?
I think to become wiser.
This can come in any time. But what about this life? Ended up with ignorance or some understanding of the truth?
Yeah, to understand better, I think.
Yes.
Where
What
life is
can
about.
be understood? See,
I don't know if I understood. You
what
were
can
asking
be understood?
what to be understand?
Can we understand that which does not appear?
No, if it does not appear, I know now that we cannot understand.
And when something now appearing, but we talk about other things, can what is there now be understood?
At the moment, you mean?
Right now, we just talk about other thing. Can that be the understanding of what is there now?
Yes, maybe we can all the time and try to understand what is there.
That's why when we just talk about now, it conforms with what we have heard, like the word nama and rupa. We just talk about that. But what about now? Is there nama? Is there rupa?
For sure.
So now, what is rupa?
Rupa is experience of hardness at the moment. Experience of my
And
hands.
what is the benefit of understanding that it's rupa?
The benefit I learned that maybe doesn't have to be a benefit. I don't know. It's just that the knowing is important. But the knowing about the rupa, the hardness and the heat, for example. I know that it is rupa.
Touching. Is it real? What is the truth of that very moment? That moment of touching.
The moment of touching.
What are there one by one? Just one at a time. That moment of touching, what is there?
There's contact.
What do you mean by contact?
The contact from the sitting on the chair, the body on the chair is contact.
And what
Looking at your photo.
and contact conditions what?
Contact
Conditions what?
Contact conditions feeling, but also consciousness, I think.
Yes, but can contact be known, or the feeling be known, or the touching be known?
Yeah.
What can be known at the moment of contact or touching?
The hardness, the softness.
Can contact be known at moment of hardness appearing? That's why even we heard about contacting to condition, touching, moment, experiencing hardness, but contact does not appear. What appear is hardness, right?
Yeah.
And what is the benefit of understanding hardness as it's hard? To begin to understand that actually nobody can change hardness into other thing. That's why hardness has to be just hardness. It cannot be thing, it cannot be finger, it cannot be plate, it cannot be fork. It is only hardness. This is to learn about what is the absolute truth.
Yeah,
It's characteristic.
yeah, that's what I learned, that it was an ultimate reality.
So can anyone take hardness from me?
Can anyone take hardness?
From me or mine? My body?
We
My
do.
finger?
We
My
do.
hair? Impossible.
Yeah.
Because hardness cannot be hair or thing, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. So there is no I and no thing at all.
Yeah.
Only hardness is there by conditions and
Yes.
follow it.
Yeah.
Let's learn to understand the absolute truth. What is taken for things and me and people are just the different reality, which cannot be changed. Hardness cannot be sweet and cannot be heard at all. That's why it's only a reality conditioned to be heard. And at that moment when it appears, there must be a reality, which we use the word touch, but actually it experiences hardness, only hardness there, appearing because of a reality arising and experiencing it. So it can appear to only that which touch or experience it only, no one there at all. To understand the absolute truth, why there is birth, there is hearing, there is thinking, there is liking, and then death, and so on. The truth can be.
Can you turn it a bit cooler? Could you turn it a bit cooler?
And these all are realities.
Yes. So we don't just use the word reality, but not understanding it. Hardness is a reality. Seeing is a reality. Whatever appears has its own characteristic as different realities.
But also liking is a reality, disliking is a reality.
Yes. Everything we can know, whether it experiences or it cannot experience. So
Yeah.
we use the word Dhamma for whatever arises and experiences an object. And for Rupa, that which arises but cannot experience anything. So there's no one. This is the beginning to understand the truth, the absolute truth of what we take that for, something.
But as Jan, you said last week, you said we always take it for something.
Yes, like a fork.
But something, is that like a concept, that we make a concept from it immediately?
If we don't use any word at all, but there is the idea or take it for something because it appears as some shape and form, different shape and form. But in truth, they are hard.
Yeah. But in truth, there's also this no self, the same thing when it is an object.
Yes, but the idea of self has been accumulated quite so long time until whatever appears, there must be the latent tendency, and it arises as when it experiences as something all the time. Just like now, seeing a bird or flower or bed or curtain or whatever, because just one tiny moment of experiencing that which can impinge on the eyebase cannot be like a table or a pen or paper at all. Just so very tiny. That's why the truth is that just like the fire stick, when you turn around so quickly, it appears as a circle of light. But in truth, just one. But the continuation, the succession of the arising and falling away so rapidly, conditions some shape and form by different way you turn it, swing it, see? And this is what it is now at this very moment.
So therefore we cannot see it. We cannot see that it is one thing, one after another.
The arising and falling away is there, but it cannot be known because so very subtle and so very rapidly. But it can be directly studied when it's there as what is seen. It's not just one single reality, because there must be citta, the moment of citta before seeing, not known, and after seeing, not known. Only seeing appears, so we use the word nimitta, the sign or symbol of the reality which experiences by way of seeing through idle process. See, but in truth, if Buddha hadn't enlightened the truth, no one knows. But he enlightened the truth, the absolute truth, from moment to moment, from one thing to another thing. He enlightened the truth of everything. So he taught about the absolute truth that in life, no matter what are there, so many things, but what can be known when it appears is only seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, liking, whatever is there is conditioned to arise as different one. For example, attachment cannot be citta, the chief of experiencing. But since the citta experience it and attachment arises together with citta, so it is attached to that object, the same object that citta experience. But it's not citta. See, so many different mental factors. And where am I? Each one has its own characteristic, arising and falling away, never to return. To consider the truth from the very beginning, to have confidence of the truth as parami, satya parami. The way it is cannot be changed at all. It's wrong to take the shape and form and the succession of the arising and falling away as something all the time, because of the rapidity of the succession of the arising and falling away. But what can be known cannot be a single one by way of processes that Buddha taught in details. That right understanding cannot arise instantly after saying, impossible, but so many processes in between. And there can be moment of right understanding developed little by little of one characteristic which sees, but not one single moment of seeing. To begin to understand what is there in life is not known as it is at all until hearing what truth is and develop the understanding whether it's true or not. This is the point. It's true or not from the very beginning. When it's true, nobody can change the truth at all. But the truth can be discerned little by little until it's so clear as vipassana jnana. So what is the aim or the point of living?
To know the truth.
Yes. Otherwise, no understanding of what Buddha said about Nibbana. See, what does it mean? Is it citta or cetasika or rupa or not at all? To understand the truth as it is. This is the point, the best thing in life of all the conditioned reality is right understanding of the truth, that actually there is no one at all, but there are many different realities. Some are nama and some are rupa, that's all. The nama cannot change to be that which cannot experience, and the rupa cannot be changed to be that which experience. That's the truth, the absolute truth. So what is there now? If there is no understanding of the characteristic which arises and experience, no way to understand what is the meaning of nama. Just talk about it, use the word nama. But nama is now, which says, if seeing does not arise, there cannot be that which can be seen appearing at all. No one at all. Only by conditions, what is there as it is. To let go the idea of self, little by little, little by little. So Buddha taught about the rupa nimitta, the image of that which arises and falls away, of rupa, Vedana nimitta, sanya nimitta, sankhara nimitta, vijnana nimitta. Everything appears as nimitta only. but it can be known as it is different from the other. Seeing cannot be hearing, cannot be thinking, cannot be liking or disliking. And these are not self. When there is moment of experiencing the pleasant object, it's moment of attachment by condition. And when the object is unpleasant, it condition that which dislike it by condition, see? Goes on by conditions. No matter moment of like or dislike, understanding or ignorance. To learn about the truth from moment of birth to death, no one there at all. The way it is. This is the meaning of sila, the behavior of that which experiences an object. To be kusala, kusala sila, or akusala sila, or when it's not kusala or akusala, it is apayakata for arahata.
Yeah.
So each word of the truth condition the moment of understanding what is there as is taught from the enlightenment, like seeing now. No one knows. It's I who see. But actually, if seeing does not arise at all, can there be I see? Impossible. But when it's there, seeing, no understanding of the truth, and when it is the experiencing moment, no one there. So it's me, it's I who see. But in truth, if it does not arise, how can there be the moment of I see? I see it's wrong understanding of the truth, which cannot belong to anyone at all, just arises and falls away. So how can it be someone or something? Never to return.
Oh, but that's what we learn.
In samsara, deliberately clinging to that which is not there anymore, but ignorance and attachment accumulated on and on until it can condition moment of clinging, not understanding the cling to that which is not there anymore. Just learn to understand the truth, to let go of akusala and ignorance. Otherwise, what is meant by nibbana? What does it mean?
Uitdoving. There's no more. There's no more suffering, but there's also no more wholesome or unwholesome.
So can that belong to you?
To you,
No you. See, no one, no me. So nibbana is the end of attachment and akusala.
Jan's happy speaking to Jyotika, everyone is. She's great value, Jyotika. Great value, Jyotika.
I'm so. I don't know. On one side, I think it doesn't need to do. We do not need to need all these details from the Abhidhamma, and on the other side, it is so helpful.
Can you hear me?
What is there now? See, it is the beginning to understand the truth.
Yeah. Yes, but that is happening because also I am here. I can listen and
Yes, and disappear. See, very natural. No one there.
Yeah. No one there.
Seeing is seeing, whisper object is whisper object. Hearing is hearing, sound is sound. Only that. in a moment only. This moment is not the same hearing, not the same sound.
So the process we cannot handle, we cannot influence, is influenced by hearing.
So find out where's who. Seeing, gone. Where's who? Arising and falling away. Where's who?
Where it is going.
Never to arise again, like the fire when it is extinct.
Is
Not
extinct.
there anymore.
Yes, it's gone.
Never to return.
Yeah.
Everything.
It is not stored anyway.
Mm-hmm. So learn to understand the absolute truth, to let go the wrong understanding, which take everything for something and I.
Yeah.
And that's so true. It is Ariya Satya, the Four Noble Truths, the meaning that nobody can change the way realities are at all.
Yeah.
So what can be known is now when it's there. Arising and falling again, away.
Rising and falling, yeah.
Never to return. The new one, the next one, is not the last or the same one that has fallen away. From moment to moment, from life to life, from eons ago, it's just what is that? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, only that in life, no matter what life.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. I cannot understand.
So the truth is now to be known.
But that
The
is
overwhelming is just for thinking for a moment and then gone. When there's no thinking about overwhelming, it's not overwhelming. So it's just for a moment.
it's not overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me.
Only when there's thinking about it being overwhelming.
The thinking is overwhelming.
At that moment.
The thinking is overwhelming. I don't know.
And then it's gone.
I feel it like. I feel it. It is. Life is so overwhelming. Like what is happening, just in a moment, just moment is all that there is. It's going on.
What do you mean when you say it's
Also
overwhelming?
after this, also going on. I don't know.
Is it, Georgika, is it life that's overwhelming, or is it the frustration that's overwhelming?
I don't know.
It's a reality.
That is a reality, of course. Overwhelming is also a reality.
No matter what you call it, you cannot change the characteristic of that.
No.
That's why it's not there anymore. No one there, just gone.
It's gone already. Yeah.
Never to return at all. And this is so true in life.
Yeah.
Dhamma Barami, have confidence of the truth.
Whatever arises is just for a moment. Nothing lasts at all. So even when it seems so overwhelming or life seems so difficult or one's in great pain, whatever it is, it's just for a moment and then it's gone. Just like the pleasant feeling too. It never lasts. Nothing lasts at all. And it's all gone.
And this is the first Ariya Satya, see?
But it's not so much, I don't know, it's not so much pain, I think. But it's just...
And Panya can understand what is there clear and clear and clear until it appears as it is.
Yeah.
So now, when there's no understanding, it's not as clear as when there is the understanding of it at that very moment.
Yeah, but there's also something that I cannot understand, that it is so ingenious, the thing, life.
Just a moment and then gone.
Yeah, okay.
What you expressed, Jyotika, is shared by everyone and everyone appreciates your interest, and that's why one has to be so brave and courageous, as Ajahn always reminds us, to study the Dhamma, because it is so difficult and so subtle. So we all appreciate your interest and your good questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
I find that understanding can happen as I go along, learning word by word. Initially, the vernacular, the jumble of words, striving to understand, the striving to understand was abandoned and just let it happen. And it can happen unbidden and unexpectedly. But the idea that I have so many terms to learn before in order to facilitate understanding, or before any understanding can happen, that was abandoned and that was relief. And what Sarah said is everyone goes through this, and there will also be other moments of overwhelmed, along with many, many other realities. So I just wanted to say that and appreciate the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful,
Thanks,
Eve. Thank you.
Yes, that's nicely said, Eve. And just before we finish and before we go, I just want to remind people, I'd put a note, but in case you didn't see it, next Saturday, this discussion is at the same time, but the following Saturday, no discussion on the Saturday, the 12th, and there will be a discussion on Sunday, the 13th, instead at the same time. So next week, the same, the following week on Sunday, the 13th, instead of Saturday, the 12th. Thank you very much, Ajahn. Sawadee ka.
Sawadee ka, everyone.
Sawadee ka.